And hello everyone to another race review where I recap what went on before the race, during the race, and after the race, looking ahead to the next week. This one will, as of me recording this, it will likely be shorter than the previous ones, mainly because I was actually there at the racetrack this past Sunday at Phoenix and not taking notes, watching it on television, so that's mostly why. And actually, it was kind of the first time since before I started doing race reviews that I was actually just simply able to sit down and actually just simply enjoy a race, if that makes any sense. And because it was the first time in over 2 years that I attended a NASCAR race, I just kind of felt more involved in the race instead of just simply feeling like I was watching cars going around in circles. I enjoy my time, and hopefully later this week I upload the video of my trip like I've done in the past. But anyway, overall thoughts on the race. The race, I'll give it pretty decent, solid. The finish we'll get to later. That'll have it like its like own segment. But over the race was pretty solid in my opinion. I would probably rank it. I could. I would either put it third or fourth as far as best races of the year. Mainly because Phoenix, I actually kind of like from like watching the race in the grandstands. I actually thought that this was definitely, in my opinion, the best Phoenix race in some time. Not only because of the finish, but also because I think like it's slowly getting better and better as the surface is aging. I don't know for those who watched it on television. I don't know if you saw like two grooves on the track, but there was in India a second groove that formed early on in the race, and we saw drivers using it, and I actually took a couple of pictures as proof, and so that's good. The more we see that second group come in, the better racing we'll have. Most of the time, the top two was like within a second of each other, and I'll take that over one driver just simply running away with it after restart. But overall, like if we're gonna get into kind of like the negatives here, there simply was not. There was very little passing. In fact, I think there was only one on-track pass the whole race, and that was when Dale Earnhardt passed Kyle Busch at around lap 80 or so. I mean, obviously, Carl always came close to passing Earnhardt on the last lap, but I'll get into that later on. But overall, there simply was not a whole lot of passing. In fact, this race actually had the fewest lead changes since 1990. Now, I don't think that shows how bad the low downforce package is. It's just simply the kind of race we got, and we'll have those kinds of races. But Phoenix is also simply just a hard track to pass on. From a uniqueness standpoint, Phoenix deserves two races. From a racing standpoint, it doesn't. And even though I do live here in Arizona and have gone to PIR 15 times, I would be okay if it just went back to one race in November. Just my personal opinion. But now let's get into sort of the major topics that I think people will be talking about either right now or later. Honestly, in my opinion, I follow various news reporting sites, and honestly, the week between Las Vegas and Phoenix was honestly a pretty just a very slow week with not a whole lot of news stories. But I think that there were like at least a couple that I think that dominated the headlines in NASCAR between the two races, and the first one was the 718 drops the appeal, so Cole Hearns served his suspension at Phoenix. I think one of the reasons why they appealed and then dropped the appeal was because they wanted to cover a top of the box for Vegas, because they had that Thursday test date in Las Vegas is a better indicator on how the low downforce, on what we'll see with the low downforce package than in Phoenix. So that's my best guess. And then 200 drivers just had interesting problems in qualifying, or should I say strange. In the first round, Casey Kane put up a good lap. I think he was like third, yet had engine problems coming back to the pits. And then in the third round, Johnson put up I think he put up like a fifth place lap, and then I guess maybe he was there slow down, or as he was slowing down, or decided to make another lap, and apparently his car just went hard right into the outside wall hard in turn number 2. It was tough to figure out what happened right away, and it was definitely mysterious. Then we would find out that actually his steering wheel came off, or basically was not on tight. And so that's what caused it. Johnson later admitted this on Twitter. And overall, I think it did bring up some concerns on this. Now, I don't know if there's going to be like a new rule because of this, but it was definitely a strange turn of events. As far as other news, I think Michael Annett crashed in practice, but I may not be sure. And speaking of practice, it looked like that it had all the makings of a Stewart-Haas racing week, because Kurt Busch was the fastest in practice number 1 and 2. Harvick was the fastest in the final practice. But Gibbs dominated qualifying. In fact, all 4 drivers started inside the top 5 or 6. And so it looked like that it was either going to be a Stewart-Haas car or a Gibbs car. Also, Kevin Harvick made his 500th start as well. But anyway, that's pretty much all the previous information that I've gathered. Tire problems were one of the major things that came out of this race, and it affected 5 drivers: Ryan Newman, Paul Menard, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Kasey Kahne. And all but one of these were right for tire problems. The only one that wasn't was Brad Keselowski, who blew a right rear tire coming off of turn 2, entering the dog leg. Now, why did we see this? Well, one thing that is important to remember is that the more downforce you take away, the more these drivers have to use the brakes. And Phoenix is already a track that is known to have these types of problems. I think, especially ever since the newer configuration, we've seen a lot more brake usage. I don't know. Maybe it's always been a Phoenix thing, but I kind of feel like under this new configuration, we've seen a lot of these tire failures, and they all came from excessive brake usage, which then melted the beads. So, I feel, and so this was not a problem with the Goodyear tires, but more because some drivers just use their brakes too much. When it comes to Brad Keselowski, I honestly don't really know what happened there. Maybe he made contact with someone. That's my best guess, because like, I don't know how much these drivers are using their rear brakes at PIR. So I don't think that this tire problem is going to be like a concern with the low downforce package, but I think because of the low downforce package and the drivers haven't used their brakes more often, I think it led to many of these tire problems. I think it's also worth mentioning, I think possibly the only pit road mishap that we saw, and that was when Kyle Busch, about middle through the race after the Ricky Stenhouse Jr. crash, overdrove his pit stall and was actually able to come back and recover and get a 4-place finish, which I know he had one of the best cars in the race, leading the second most amount of laps to Kevin Harvick. But I think to come back from that, from this middle through the race and then come back to finish 4th on a track that's hard to pass, I think that's pretty impressive, if you ask me. Okay, now let's get into the final restart that set up the incredible finish we had. So, late in the race, with about 5 laps to go, Kasey Kahne had a right front tire failure, went hard into the wall in turns 3 and 4, which then put us into NASCAR's new overtime rule. 3 drivers stayed out: Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., which were the top 2 before, and Austin Dillon, who was hovering around 10th, decided to stay out, just like he did last week at Las Vegas. And everyone else took 2 tires. So now let's get into what happened on the overtime, the final 2 laps. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. Kevin Harvick on the outside, Dale Hunter on the inside, and Kevin Harvick gets a great restart. Austin Dillon gets shuffled back. He gets a great run through turns 1 and 2, and already has a few car lengths over Carl Edwards. We see Kyle Busch and Dale Hunter Jr. using the apron here, but then right here through turns 3 and 4, this is where Carl Edwards started reeling in Kevin Harvick on those 2 fresher tires. And coming to the start finish line, they were now separated by about less than a car length. So here we go. Carl Edwards, it looks like he's going to try to pass Kevin Harvick on the high side, but can't do it. Kevin Harvick goes up to block. Now we head down right here through the dog leg. I thought Carl Edwards might go down the apron, but he didn't. But now here we go through turns 3 and 4. Kevin Harvick slides up the track just a little bit. Here comes Carl Edwards. He drives it in deep. Him and Kevin Harvick make contact. Here comes Carl Edwards on the inside. Side by side, Edwards goes up to Harvick. Here comes Edwards again. They beat it bang. Harvick takes the win in a photo finish. 10 1,000ths of a second was the margin of victory. So wrapping things up and looking ahead to Fontana. So this past Phoenix race was it definitely had some pleasant surprises in it. And definitely, I think it's definitely going to be a Phoenix race to remember because Phoenix races in the past have kind of just been just kind of forgettable, but I think this one will definitely be remembered possibly for years to come because mainly because of that close finish. Was the close finish a product of the low hours package? We could debate that, but overall, I think based on the first 4 races of the season, I think it's you can't I don't think there's any way you could say that this low hours package has been unsuccessful, because it's not a huge difference. It's not like a huge improvement in the racing, but definitely a significant difference. And so far, if you compare the first 4 races of this season to the first 4 races of last season, this season is miles ahead, in my opinion. And I think this race makes me continue to believe that we're just going to have a great season, and maybe a season that could be remembered for years to come. I do believe that because so far we are 4 races into the season, and in 2 of the top 10 closest finishes ever in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series history have happened this year already, and yeah, I think it's maybe the best season I've seen so far, or definitely the best start of the season, if you ask me, or at least one of the best. But now, oh yeah, also, I guess a couple other things to point out here. So now we had 4 races, won by 4 different drivers in 4 different teams. Denny Hamlin of Gibbs, Joey Johnson of Hendrick, Brad Keselowski of Penske, and Kevin Harvick with Stewart Haas. Could we see that pattern continue? It looks like this season is shaping up to be a lot like last season, because last season was Gibbs, Hendrick, Penske, Stewart Haas. Those 4 teams won 35 out of the 36 races. The only one that wasn't won by any of those 4 was Truex at Pocono. And it looks like that we're going to have that. It looks like we're going to see that again. It's hard to see a team that isn't one of those 4 winning, but there are indeed some drivers that I have noticed. I think some improvements. For example, I think the biggest improvement so far has been Austin Dillon. He's currently inside the top 10 points. He finished inside the top 10 at Phoenix and came off of the top 5 at Las Vegas. He seems to be the most improved driver so far this season. And so it wouldn't surprise me if he could win. Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott just continue to impress. Both got top 10 finishes. As far as any drivers that I think have been disappointments, there are at least 2 drivers that are coming that I can just think of off the top of my head. One of those is Kyle Larson. I would have really thought at the low hours package we would have seen improvement so far. That's not happening. And Cliff Bowyer, man, he's just really he's just really out of it for some reason. But actually, both H. Scott Roseman's cars are just out of it for some strange reason, and that's strange because really with their equipment, in sponsorship. They should really be like competing for like top 20s, but they're not even close to that. I might talk more about this later on the season, but that's just kind of my overall thoughts on that. And now looking ahead to Fontana, the last few years, Fontana has produced some of the best racing you'll see. 2013, 2014, and 2015 all having last lap passes. In fact, 4 out of the last 5 races of Fontana. Yeah, 4 out of the last 5 races of Fontana have had last lap passes, and just overall some of the best racing all season, which is still kind of a little crazy to me because 10 years ago, everyone talked about Fontana as like the worst track on the schedule. Now it's like the best track. That's mainly due to its racing surface, and the racing surface combined with the low hours package, I think we are in for another great race at Fontana. Who do I think is going to win? Well, he wasn't in the event last year because he was still recovering from his leg injuries, but he won the 2 events before that. Kyle Busch. I think Fontana is the race where he finally gets a first cup win. He's been close a couple times this season. Daytona, Las Vegas, and Phoenix. So that's just overall a prediction on who's going to win. Thank you all for watching this first review. I hope you enjoyed it. Soon I should hopefully have the blog open, and then probably on the weekend you could maybe expect a documentary of my trip to the Phoenix National Raceway because from the grandstands, and I've been to PIR 15 times, but I think this past Sunday's race was the best Phoenix race I've attended. Just my opinion. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.